Hey guys, it's Billy. How's it going? Checking in with you right now with a very much long overdue vinyl update. You're going to see the run of the gamut here and a lot of stuff. So I'm going to jump right in. It's pretty much covers all different genres, new releases, old stuff, some couple Grails in here. So we're just gonna throw it all in here and hope you guys enjoy it. So I'm gonna jump right in with the new release. Came out last Friday from Bruce Springsteen, Western Stars. Of course, we've waited 5 years for a new Springsteen album, and this one does not disappoint. It is unbelievable. Of course, diehard Springsteen fans are probably gonna. They probably freaked out whenever they heard that it wasn't. He wasn't giving them a new album with the E Street Band. This was just Bruce and some guest guest stars, I guess you could say, came in and played on it. But there are some E Street members that played on this album as well. But phenomenal album. America's best poet and storyteller, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, Dylan's great, but man, Springsteen is unbelievable. And this album has lived with me this last week. There isn't a whole lot of, I'm going to be honest with you, there's not a whole lot of other stuff that I've listened to since this has been released last Friday. Bruce Springsteen, Western Stars, great album. If you're a fan, pick it up. If you haven't, you won't be disappointed. Um, let's see, let's go here. Sammy Hagar and the Circle. This is their first album. Of course, Sammy Hagar, Jason Bonham, Michael Anthony, Vic Johnson. Just a great album. Concept album. My first listen through, I was like, it's just about money. You know, that's the only real concept that I'm getting here. The storyline's just about money. But after I listened to it 2 or 3 times, it's really, yes, it's about money, but it's about the bad things that money can do. You know, greed and things like that. How evil things can turn. You know, there's good and bad things you can do with money, and a lot of this is just about the greed and the negative part of money. Basically, greed. So there you go, Sammy Hagar on the Circle. Great album, really great album. My only negative thoughts on that album is it just wasn't long enough. Seemed like you put it on and start spinning, and you're over on to side B, and in no time it's over. So can't wait to hear more from those guys. Good stuff. Chris Shiflett, you guys saw earlier in one of my videos. I'm new to this guy. I had no idea who this guy was a couple months ago, but my buddy who owns the record store here, Colin, in Edwardsville, Trusty Chords Records, shout out to Trusty Chords, turned me on to his last album, which was West Coast Town. Great Western style country music. But Chris is for those of you who don't know, is the guitar player for the Foo Fighters. And this is his newest album, Hard Lessons, produced by Dave Cobb. Great, another great album. Might even say it's a little better than his debut, West Coast Town. Love it, great stuff. Like I said, guys, I'm just gonna fly through these because there's a bunch. Grail time. Blaze Foley, Clay Pigeons. Let's get there. You go. This has been a Grail of mine, the want list for a long time. There were only 500 of these pressed, and this one is a beauty. Been looking to find one of these, like I said, for quite some time, quite a few years, and just been holding out. I mean, there's only been a couple that have popped up for sale, but the price just has been right. And this was one of those things that I had been going back and forth, talking with this seller, and we ended up finally striking a deal, and I'm so glad we did. Great album, great songwriter. If you haven't seen the Ethan Hawke movie that came out last year called Blaze, check it out. Netflix, whatever. You'll love it. If you're a fan of singer-songwriters, Townes Van Zandt, John Prine, those sorts of things. Steve Earle. Check that out. I think you guys will definitely dig it. Speaking of great songwriters, another Grail, Bruce Springsteen, Devils and Dust. Picked this up from a local seller here in St. Louis, actually, but it was an online deal that we had worked out. Another great album. More acoustic type storytelling. A lot of Bruce's albums follow a story or a concept, I guess you could say, and this one is no different. Great stuff. Glad to finally add that one to the collection. That's a really tough one to find. This is back to new releases here. Keith Urban, 19 hits or 18 kids, he calls them. Whatever. 19. They marked it out. So this was released in like 2008, but they reissued it on vinyl and added another song, changed it from 18 to 19. Whatever. But it's nice to have this finally on vinyl. Some of Keith's biggest songs. Nice to have on vinyl. Then this one was a pleasant surprise. Duff McKagan, Tenderness. Of course, Duff being the bass guitar player, one of the songwriters for Guns N' Roses. This album is totally not what I was expecting. Duff is a punk guy, a punk rocker at his roots, and this is far from punk. This is very much folk, country, rock. Shooter Jennings produced it, and he and his band backed Duff on this album. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. So if you can think of some of the stuff, the more stripped down acoustic type stuff, Guns N' Roses, that's kind of what that reminded me of. Here's one that I picked up just kind of impulse buy. So you got Wilco, Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. This album is kind of, I guess you could say, the Fleetwood Mac Rumors of our generation, or this new generation of vinyl collecting. You see it all the time. It's been reissued a bunch. Everybody probably has it in their collection except me until now. Honestly, I've never heard this album, but I've heard so many great things about it. And I was a fan of Wilco back in like the mid '90s. Wilco, Uncle Tupelo. Who's the other band? I'm drawing a blank now, but that Wallflowers, that type of sound. I did dig it, so I can't wait to give this a spin. This is one of those 180 gram audiophile pressings, so it ought to sound really good. I hope it's everything that everybody has said it was. This I have to give a shout out to my buddy Steve over at Harmless Rebel. He gave me a heads up through Facebook that Barnes & Noble were selling these dirt cheap, actually. So it's the new Steve Earle and the Dukes Guy Clark tribute, just called Guy. It's a double LP. Very, very good stuff. Great. Of course, Guy Clark had so many great songs, but this is a hand-signed copy by Steve, and I believe the price. Steve, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the price on this was actually as cheap, if not cheaper, than what you could find than normal vinyl, the unsigned vinyl, and it was great. My only qualm with this is that it, when I put it on, the pressing wasn't the best, and I don't know if it was pressed at United or one of those other plants that the quality it was just kind of a noisy pressing, but still glad to have that in the collection. Another one that I'm glad to finally have in the collection, the Essential Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. This is great. Always wanted this. So many great hits on here. It's another double LP. Sorry for the glare there, guys, but there you go. Just picked that one up. Glad to add that to the collection. I know Mitch Wood will like that one. And then as I was in my local record shop, I I don't know if you guys ever do this, but they have stuff playing over the speakers while I'm in there shopping, and I heard this and asked the guy what it was. The vocalist seemed really really familiar, and of course it was Todd Snyder. But this is the Hardworking Americans, Rest in Chaos, and I was totally unaware of these guys until a month or so ago, and really dug this album. Walked out of there with this that day, and dug it. I would love to pick up their first album. It seems like it's really hard to find. Matter of fact, there's only like one for sale on Discogs, but I'm not going to pay that much for it. But this was great. Loved it. Great stuff. And then record store day thing that I had picked up. Cover up the stuff there. Don't want to get a strike or anything, but you guys all know what it is. The Golden Earring, Moontan. This was one that I did not pick up on record store day. Of course, I have the whatever the second copy, the second pressing of that, you know, with the earring on the cover, one of those originals. But it's nice to have this music on vinyl pressing from record store day. Let's see, moving right along. Okay, we're making good time here. I just got a few more. I mean, I've got a bunch more, but we'll fly through these. So I went to another record store in St. Louis. It was one day, had a baseball game, and I went in early. Had to kill some time, so I stopped by one of the record stores over there in St. Louis and picked up a few cheap country things. Most of these were less than $5. So this one here was $5. It's the very best of Conway Twitty. It's a double LP put out by Heartland, I believe. Yeah, it's Heartland Music. So this would have been 1989, 1990. So very hard to find. I've never seen another one of these, and I haven't gave it a spin, but it was in VG Plus or better condition, and for $5. Wasn't going to leave it there. Love me some Conway Twitty. Tons of great songs on there. Sticking with the country theme here real quick. Merle Haggard, His Best, Gold Stamp promo. This is another one that I don't see that often. This is a probably mid-80s, 86 release. So there you go. Haggard, His Best. And then this is another one that I don't see too often, and this was like $4. Merle Haggard, Amber Waves of Grain. So there you have that. This is from 85. And then one of the other later pressings that you just don't see that often, Highway 101. I believe this is 1989. Yep. 1989. Some good songs on here. This is a BMG Music Club pressing. Let's see. Walking, Talking, Crying, Barely Beaten, Broken Heart. That was a single. And Who's Lonely Now. Those may have been the only two singles off here, but they were good stuff. Really love her vocals as well. And then the next day, so that would have been a Friday. And then Sunday, Brandon and I ended up meeting and going digging. And we went to, I don't remember if we went to 2 or 3 stores. But, of course, Brandon being Brandon, he shows up bearing gifts. And it's Motorhead, an original pressing of Motorhead, Iron Fist. Sealed copy, by the way. Thank you so much for this, Brandon. This was one that I did not have. So it fits right in well in the rock and metal collection over there in with the rest of the Motorhead stuff. So thank you for that, Brandon. So Brandon and I ended up going digging. We went to a couple of our favorite stores, one of them being Music Record Shop. And they have, the owner does a lot of promotions and stuff with bands. So he somehow or another works out to where anybody that comes to town, a lot of the guys that come to town, the smaller places, he ends up getting vinyl signed, and it's great. A lot of the times he sells the vinyl for just a few bucks more than what you would normally end up paying for an unsigned copy. And so I end up picking up, and I had wanted to pick up this Brent Cobb sophomore effort, Providence Canyon, for a long, long time, and just totally just been putting it off. You know, there's been so many other things that I've wanted. Loved his debut record. This one is just as good. Just really good folk country stuff. You know, singer-songwriter type stuff, but has a really distinct vocal style. And of course, signed by Brent. That was nice to have, nice to pick up. And then the night before, this guy came to town, Coulter Wall. And you want to talk about fantastic, new, groundbreaking country folk artist. Coulter Wall is that guy. He has a distinct vocal. Some guys compare it to Johnny Cash. It's to me, it's so much different, more different than Johnny Cash. But this kid's like 22 years old, and he sounds like he's 70. Great stuff from I believe he's from Saskatchewan, Canada. But signed. This is his debut album, another one produced by Dave Cobb. Brilliant record. And then last of the signed things that I picked up, Monster Truck. This is, I believe this is a live record. No, this is True Rockers, but but signed by Monster Truck. Trying to think who, I think it was Greg, had shown Monster Truck's Sittin' Heavy, I believe. That's been years ago, a couple years ago, and was playing it in his car or something, one of his crazy videos, and I loved it. Loved that Southern rock sound, that 70s authentic Southern rock sound. And these guys are from Canada, I believe, and I was shocked to hear that sound come from these guys, and picked up that album, loved it. Picked up this one, haven't spun it yet, but glad to have that one in the collection as well. Then we went to another shop that neither of us had been to, and I'm not a fan of 7-inch records. I don't buy them very often, but this one was sitting right up front. And you guys know I love me some Thin Lizzy, and this is a original Vertigo 45 7-inch of The Boys Are Back in Town, backed by Sarah. So it was like $4. And then I picked this one up just because upgrade, and then in shrink with the hypes. I mean, look at that. That's like orgasmic right there with all those hype stickers. It's I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. But beautiful pressing, and it was. I wish I still had the price sticker on it. Less than $10. So happy to pick that one up. Glad I was able to grab that. Then these next two, I was just blown away to be able to get these. Honestly, let me start with this one. So Public Enemy, an original pressing of Public Enemy's "Fear of a Black Planet." Of course, in shrink with hypes. This one is an original price sticker of $9.99. I paid a little bit more than that for this, but VG Plus, excellent, great copy. Glad to have that one. That'll fit in well with the old school hip hop and rap. Oh, here, this is my Eazy-E Los Angeles Raiders cap. Crazy that I'm wearing that with that. Anyway, moving right along. This is another one of those albums that could have fit in that 50 album challenge. One of those that I've never heard. Believe it or not. Shoot me now. Bring on the hate. But London Calling by The Clash. Another original pressing with the hype stickers in the shrink. Beautiful, beautiful, epic pressing. I could not leave this sitting there. And the asking price was actually the median price on Discogs, which was more than fair, if you ask me. So I was happy to pick those up that day. And then Brandon and I were actually talking about a cult album that I'd found there, but it was just beat to hell. And so I get a VCLT. Well, it's not really a VCLT, but he was very generous and very kind to shoot me a text and say, hey, do you want this? I found one. And yes, so he picked it up for me. Thank you, Brandon. The Cult Sonic Temple. Beautiful, beautiful copy. So glad to have this in the collection. This is from, what, 91? No, 89. So 1989, The Cult Sonic Temple. Great to finally add that one to the collection. Thank you for that, Brandon. And then some metal masterpieces here. Halloween, Walls of Jericho, another VG Plus excellent copy. You know, this is a beautiful, beautiful copy, original that I had been missing for quite some time. Glad to finally add that to the collection. There's still a couple more Halloween pieces I need to add to the collection. And then this one was kind of a mind blower. Megadeth. What do we have? Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good. Original pressing on Combat Green label, camouflage green, in shrink with hype. Love the hype sticker. There you go, if you guys can see that. So it's Megadeth featuring ex-Metallica songwriter and guitarist Dave Mustaine. Love it. So happy to have this. This is a gorgeous, I mean, near mint copy. So glad to finally have that. I was digging through cataloging and organizing everything, and I realized that I didn't have an original pressing of that. I had the, I don't know if it was a 2008 reissue Direct Metal Master, Music for Nations. And it sounds great, but I have always wanted to get a nice original copy of that, and picked it up. And then as far as listening copies are concerned, I just picked this one up, reissue, nice reissue of Megadeth Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? This is one of those Capitol 75th anniversary reissues. They sound great. Of course, I have my originals on this. I think I have a Record Club pressing as well as a regular Capitol pressing on that as well. But this is a great sounding record. And speaking of reissues, you guys all know this one. It's my absolute favorite Metallica record, And Justice for All. This is the 2018 blackened reissue that comes in the box set, which I have up here. But I didn't want to have to pull out the box set every time I wanted to listen to this, because this is by far, hands down, the best sounding pressing of this copy, of this album. Even though they didn't, remix it and add bass in, they did remaster it. So there seems like there's a little bit more bass there. I'll let you guys decide. But no, beautiful sounding album. The best sounding pressing of this, hands down. And so had to pick up one of those because I just didn't want to have to keep dragging out the box set every time I wanted to listen to this. Another Record Store Day item that slipped through my fingers, the Greta Van Fleet, From the Fires. So you have that. Of course, the what is it? The 8-song album. I don't know if that's the history behind that. Whether that's the EP with the bonus songs or whether that's their first album, I don't know. Don't care. Just finally glad to have it. And last but not least, wrapping out my Van Halen U.S. pressing collection. Van Halen live in concert in Tokyo at the Tokyo Dome. It's a box set, 4 LPs, I believe. Just a great live set. Everything came. So I ended up picking this up from a seller on Discogs. He had everything sleeved in MoFi sleeves already. I had seen a couple of these in that $89 to $100 range, and I'm like, this is why I didn't have. That's exactly why I didn't have this record. It was just because of that price. It's not that great. It's not that great. It's good, but it's not $100 good. 35 bucks. Nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. The guy just must have wanted to move it. Said he listened to it one time, got rid of it. 35 bucks plus shipping, gone. Van Halen U.S. collection complete. So there you have it, guys. That is my vinyl update. A long overdue, huge vinyl update. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Some heavy hitters in there, and then just some new releases. Guys, I hope everybody's been doing well. I do have a pretty epic video coming up probably next week, maybe later this week. Hang around for that. I promise you won't be disappointed. So, guys, thank you so much for always tuning in, even though it might be a long time in between videos. You guys are great. Hope everybody's having a great summer. Wish you well. Take care. Peace.